let those notifications go out. Yep, here we are. Remember, if we're going to do Let's Just Chat on Wednesdays here on YouTube, we definitely try, God willing, Thursday, Friday, anywhere between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. And it could even be later, depending, okay? It's just, that's on average. And it depends on how much we've got done and the message and other things, because we are moving in silence. Yep. Doing what God needs us to do, all right, for healing and stuff. So I'm going to give it a few more minutes for those notifications to go out. And yeah, we're going to talk about it because God revealed it to me today. Because I said, okay, so what else? Back to basics. There's a lot that goes into that. And when God has us do that, going back to basics, to get back on track, remember how I told y'all that God also restores by reversal. So I'm going to break that down a little bit better for you all so you can understand. It's just one of the ways that God restored. He restores other ways as well, but when it comes to something, he's going to do it by reversal. Not living in the past, but starting with the the last thing that happened to us in the physical, okay, with the physical, I know, because there was no physical evidence until many months later when I started with more bruise pattern, figured out, listen, y'all, patterns tell a story. Remember that. Patterns tell a story. So God had to heal the last thing that happened. He had to get that wound closed up. And then, because right before that, I was dragged down by my feet. So all of the bruising and things like that occurred there, God had to work on that. But doing the reversal as far as the healing, that's what he revealed to me. To get all the way back to the autonomic nervous system, to bring it back into the present. And so this is another tip that goes with our course at CHA Academy. And I will bring it there too as a reminder, okay? Because it's very important when you're healing from trauma of any kind it's very important to keep in mind that it's how God works. Okay, so we have to start with the last thing that occurred before I was hauled off. Okay, so yeah, that's how he does it. And he does it in layers. Remember, the detox is like layers of onion, right, being pulled back. Okay, because God, all right, that's another layer. Okay, so he starts here, because this is the last thing that happened to me. All right, so God worked on that. He's working on other parts of the body also, but the focus, this is how God restores by reversal. And this is why the detoxing on top of that healing, okay, yeah. All right, so some of y'all who are detoxing with are going to get this too, because it makes sense as to why we're experiencing surges as we do. So then, because being pulled down by my feet and ankle, God had to do some restoration there. And then for each thing he revealed to me as to the order of how things went, okay, and then he comes over and he does a little more healing here. All right, another surge takes place. All right, boom, starts over again. A little bit more healing here, a little bit more healing there, and then all the way back up to the very first thing that occurred. Okay, the very first thing that occurred was the tightening of that was deliberate, to shut off circulation. Before doing some other things that you learn more about on the Patreon channel. And you're going to, you're going to learn more about that in other ways as well. But just know, the reason I see this as a blessing in disguise is because now I can bring truth about our autonomic nervous system, the ANS, to you all, so you can get a better understanding how God designed our biological body so strategically to do this, okay, and to get rid of what it doesn't want or need, okay? But the ANS has a comfort zone. Just like the narcissists have their comfort zone. God tells his chosen ones, we got to step out of that comfort zone. We got to take that leap of faith. And so that's what we do. We're not to develop a comfort zone. Never forget, God's going to step in. If he sees you going anywhere near a comfort zone, I need to switch it up. So that's why our social media structure, it changes frequently. Because God's like, you ain't getting in no comfort zone. And so, no, we don't live in the past, but God is going to have us revisit some things. And so this is what I had to talk with him about. And he said, okay, share this message because y'all will need it at some point. And some of y'all need it right now. So our autonomic nervous system, the ANN, until we become aware of it, okay, on how it's responding to sounds, to sights, to what you're touching and feeling, okay, what you're tasting, what you're smelling. Because as you'll learn about in the Trauma Intensive Healing course, number 1, the inner workings of the ANS, you'll learn how the ANS is highly dependent on our 5 senses. And I mean highly. All right? Because as it is scanning, remember, it's the threat detector, right? So it is scanning to see if there's any threats. And the ANS is our inner child. So let me go ahead and get these formalities out of the way real quick. Okay? So I am Michelle Dickey, master consultant, coach, trauma specialist, minister, and author, helping survivors of traumatization overcome trauma trigger, life obstacle, unpack that bag of talent and gifts that God put on the inside of them. That's right. All healing from narcissist abuse and spiritual growth, getting closer to God. Okay, so that's who I am, helping you all. Consulting for Heightened Awareness is a growing community of spiritual warriors for Christ. And so we have places where we can convene, where you have a voice at the Academy, here, on the Patreon channel. All those links are listed below for quicker access. So if you're looking for a community that knows what's going on with the game of narcissism on the world stage, you've come to the right place at the right time. As always, at God's appointed time, Galatians 4, verse 2. And the ANS is our inner child. And that being said, it's going to, right, when the ANS is traumatized and you don't know, you have no idea it's operating in the background and it is perceiving things as threat that may not be one because it's traumatized and it's numb a little because constant push-pull with the high and low frequencies out here in the world. And so that's what happened. But the body had to have a certain number of molecules on the inside, okay? And it takes, it's incredible how much this body can hold salt-wise. It is incredible. But once we become aware, remember that heightened awareness, we become aware of our autonomic nervous system. And God revealed to me, He said, yeah, it healed twice before already. So yes, your ANS can heal. You get it back into the present. Here's the difference this time, though. On this third go-round, this is it. Because we're aware of it. See, that's the thing. That's what the devil was looking at when he sent the Jezebel case study across my path. Right. They were sent. The flying monkey and the Jezebel were sent to see if I was aware of my autonomic nervous system yet. That's what they were looking for. Oh, yeah. And because they could detect, their demon spirit could detect that I hadn't become aware of my autonomic nervous system yet. I knew about it because I learned about it in my trauma training. And I know that it's the threat detector. But how it's responding, I didn't know because it was healed. They knew it was healed. That's why she did what she did, to re-traumatize my ANS. It didn't work on me, but on the ANS it did, because the ANS is our inner child. And it's easy to traumatize children. That's unfortunate, but it is. Think about it. When we were kids, how easy it was for people out there to frighten us. Oh, yeah. Monsters in the closet, monsters under the bed, the boogeyman here, the boogeyman there. It isn't easy to traumatize children, which means the narcissists being toddlers in adult bodies, they're easy to traumatize in adulthood or to keep traumatized, okay, because they have zero awareness, okay, that they are demonically possessed. So, as chosen ones, though, God says He's not going to have us ignorant to the enemy's devices, okay? And this is a big one. How the enemy's using that radio frequency to keep people's autonomic nervous system traumatized. And so it has a comfort zone. And that's what God revealed to me. Okay, it has a comfort zone. The ANS does. And it makes sense because it's the inner child. And when we were children, we liked that comfort zone, right? Because it's safety. So the ANS has a similar thing, but there are differences. Now, narcissists, they live in a comfort zone. Okay? I want y'all to really digest the importance of this. Because what the ANS does, eventually we will do. Let that sink in. When the ANS gets traumatized, eventually we are. Okay? If the ANS is living in the past, then naturally, if we're not aware of it, that is. That's what keeps these narcissists living in the past, is that they don't have any awareness of their autonomic nervous system being manipulated the way it is. They don't have any idea. And so, when the ANS is traumatized, we follow. The devil knows this. This is why he does what he does. To keep that autonomic nervous system traumatized, keep the body all tense, to prevent proper circulation. Keep that ANS a little bit numbed and running in the background. Keep planting those subliminal messages in the subconscious mind, all that negativity and all of that, so they continue to believe the lies. And God's like, okay, well then, here's your strong delusion. As they continue to keep taking pleasure in their unrighteousness. So, the ANS has a comfort zone. And so what does that mean? Okay, what it means is that until we get it back into the present, all right, it's going to respond to things it perceives as a threat. So I'm in the process right now of teaching little Michelle. That's what I named it. That's what it is. There you go. This is for somebody. Because I've noticed that the ANS is responding to, right, it's responding to the little creepers, okay, as I did when I was a kid. It's perceiving them as a threat. And so I'm trying to teach little Michelle that those things are not a threat. They're simply animated salt molecule. Dust to dust. That's it. See, the enemy doesn't want people to know that truth, because if we knew that growing up, we would never have been afraid of them. Right? What's the enemy all about? Keeping people living in fear. So if you get the ANS traumatized and living in fear, then eventually the human follows. And so that's what the enemy was hoping would happen when that Jezebel case study did what she did to re-traumatize my ANS. The enemy was hoping that, right, to put me back to sleep. In fact, it backfired on him big time, didn't it? Yeah, okay, so let's keep talking about it. Those little salt molecules inside the dust, you all, okay, over time, in the right conditions, with the right environment, okay, those things they're like magnets. Salt is very, very sticky, by the way. If you ever pay attention to when you're cooking a burger or any kind of meat, and you start to see the fat start to come out, right? That's the tip I have for y'all, to push that away so you don't consume that salt. Salt cooks out. And so you'll notice it. And if you are paying attention and not adding a bunch of stuff, for those of you who want to try this, give it a try and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay? You'll see how that stuff, once you push it away, as you're cooking the burger, okay? I highly recommend, if you like ground turkey, you'll notice it with a ground turkey real quick, okay? You push that out, and then you're cooking the burger, and you'll watch as that fat starts to cook down, and the water starts to evaporate. And then you'll see it like a brownish type color, a dark brown even. And so and let it cool for a few minutes, okay? It'll clean up just fine. But I took a paper towel and I scraped it out of the nonstick pan and I looked at it and I said, oh my gosh, that's the same color brown and the same type of consistency of the shell of one of the so-called insects. That's not a coincidence. Dust to dust. So I have to teach little Michelle that those things are just animated salt molecules. They're not after us. They're not after our food. If they go towards any food, that means the food has salt in it. They're after the salt. They're after each other. They feed on each other. That's not a coincidence, because the narcissists do the same thing. I'm telling you, God's been revealing this to me. Right, because I happen to have found a spot that we've taken care of it. But I was like, hold on a second. When I came over here, they were like the dark black salt molecule. But I was trapped in there. And they started to turn brown and then to a light brown. And I finally threw the trap out. But what I'm saying is that was so weird. But then God said, think about bruising and how it goes away. Like when you first get a bruise, right? Yeah. And then as it goes away, it does what? It goes from being kind of almost black to a purplish right? And then it starts to turn to a light brownish with some yellowish till it goes away. Paying attention to this stuff. I said, oh, dust to dust. Okay. More about that on the Patreon channel as well. Okay, but anyway, that hello, fellow warriors. But that's what I'm teaching little Michelle right now, is to get out of that childhood response to those things, because they're not after us. They're not after the food. They're not, no. And this place is not dirty. I'm telling y'all, the world, unlearn that worldly garbage, although there's some truth to it, because you'll find those things. If you've got an environment that's full of garbage, okay, think about the salt that the world puts in a lot of the food, almost all foods, but you can find unsalted, yes. Like unsalted rice cake, almond butter that doesn't have any salt. You know, you just have to look for it, okay? It's out there. But typically those things are not going to be attracted to cold food because they can't smell the salt. They can only smell the salt when you are cooking it. Okay? That's what they're after. Is the salt, not food, because that's what they are. They are nothing but an animated salt molecule transformed into whatever. And depending on the mixture of salt molecule, it's going to dictate the type, okay, that gets activated with the right energy, frequency, and vibration. Aha! And usually it's the lower rumble vibration and frequency that will activate them. All right, so enough about that. The ANS, all right, now y'all know where I'm at with that. Got to retrain little Michelle and teach her the facts, God's spiritual truth, because Jesus cleaned everything. When he died on that cross, you all, Jesus flipped some stuff on the devil's head like never before. He cleans everything. But the devil needed something that he knows we would be afraid of to traumatize that ANS. And so every time we see something like that, the ANS, views it as a threat, because that's how we responded when we were kids. When adult, we're not afraid of them things. And so, yeah, you have to keep that in mind, that many of them, yeah, they're after each other. Because, well, right, they're full of salt. They're just activated salt molecule. And it's the salt that gives them the energy, because they're drawing in frequencies from refrigerators, dishwashers, garbage disposal, blenders, air conditioner. You get the picture. All right, anyhow, that being said, why is it like that? Well, I had to ask God. I said, okay, so why is it like that? Oh, because this here doesn't have a crawl space, whereas the previous house, because I said the previous house had a lot more frequency going on. And we didn't see, we didn't see them. Like, but I mean, every now and again, sure. But I was like, okay, but there's no crawl space here. There's a crawl space because they prefer, like all parasites, they prefer moist, warm, dark environments. Yeah, makes you think of narcissists, don't it? Okay. So, yeah, that's what they prefer. They don't want to be out in the light. Now, moths, we know, are attracted to light, and those also are just animated salt molecules looking for salt. And they have the type of moth that go after wheat bread, or mainly whole grain bread. Yeah, they're not after the healthy aspect. They're after the salt that's in that sucker. That's what they're after. So anyhow, because that's what gives them their energy. The more salt, and then exposed to frequencies, that's what gives them life. Yeah, very similar to the narcissist. Yeah, zap them with radio frequency while giving them some feel-good story, whatever, or tickle their itching ears, and all of a sudden they've got some energy. Yeah, I mean, I know they feed on our energy, but we no longer let them. That's the thing. We're not giving it to them no more when we get in God's reality. Now, if you're still in the workplace, that's one thing. But the ANS, okay, comfort zone. Now, because my ANS, like yours, has a comfort zone. It lived in the past when it's re-traumatized. So I said, okay, I'm not living in the past. We keep going forward. I'm bringing y'all some more stuff, obviously. But God revealed me. He said, yeah, I know. He said, back to basics. This is part of it. He said, I need you to get back on the supplement regimen that you were on once you got on the blood type diet. I said, okay. That just hang tight. Because he said the ANS, exactly, because it is our autonomic nervous system that contains both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. Our nervous system also needs nutrients, right? It needs, because there's neurotransmitter messengers, aka transporters as well. The synapses in between each nerve junction, right? It contains necessary, I guess you could say, taxi cabs for nutrient to cross, okay? That's why you'll learn, for example, magnesium, okay, is necessary for not just strong bones and teeth, but also for, there's other things that go into that, but also for muscle and nerve function. But too much, see, there's the caveat. Because it is a salt. So therefore, if you are taking a magnesium supplement, God will have you fluctuate. Like he had me take 2 for a day and then 1 for a couple days. Kind of keeping the balance going to get back into the system. So basically, that's that. And so it's going to remember, your ANS is going to remember the things that you were doing during a time that worked. Okay, that does work still, believe it or not. But you had, for me, I had basically gotten to a point where with the ANS being healed, I didn't know it was. I was basically at a point where I only needed to take a multivitamin, and then the occasional, right, because I thought, we know we don't have that anymore, but that, and then, gosh, I had even gotten off probiotics for a while. Yeah, being on the blood type diet. But because the ANS got re-traumatized, it messed with a lot of things. And that internal heat, with all that excess salt that got trapped from that incident. And then as I'm bouncing back and forth and I'm just trying to figure out, while I keep going and work and trying to figure out what we're going to do, where we're going to live, and all that stuff, right? And so hotel eating, that was my bad. And then when I got in here, I was still, because I had developed that habit. And then we realized we had to detox. And in order to do that, we need to back on the blood type diet. Okay? And so that's that. So since we've done that, God said, okay, now that you're back on the blood type diet, I need you to eat, okay, your foods similar, or if not in that same way, because your ANS, believe it or not, because it's the inner child, even though I'm not eating for taste, the ANS is. It's back in a comfort zone now. And that's where it will heal. That's what God revealed to me. He said, so I need you to do the thing that works, okay, and that did and was working for a long time when you first got on the blood type diet. And that's going to help bring the ANS present, okay, because when the ANS starts to hallucinate, smell that exactly, right, smell that I was smelling when I first got in here. We've only been here for almost 1 year, so that's pretty good. That gives me an idea. Okay. And so God said, yes, we have to finish that process to bring that ANS back into the present, where it will be more equipped with, oh, okay, I like that change. It'll be able to better associate positive things to the changes that we're making in our life. Okay? Yeah. I mean, it's doing okay with some things. So that's good. But there are still some things that it's responding to, thinking it's a threat that's not a threat. And each time it does that, it interrupts our circulation because it tenses up a little bit. And the sensation feels the same way as getting a minor electrical shock from the radio frequency. So that's why the ANS, once it can't tell the difference between the two, but see, we start to be able to, as we are detoxing and eliminating the excess, we start to notice, oh, okay, all right, that's a normal, we're having normal moment now, okay, and then all of a sudden, the ANS sees something that you have to retrain it. Not a threat, but it don't know that. And so it'll feel like a surge. That's why we refer to this as the peeling back layers of an onion. Okay, so that being said, it's not that we go back to living in a comfort zone. No. God told me, he said, with the exception of a few things, you're not going to do everything exactly the way you used to do them. No, he said, but I need you to get some supplements and get back onto somewhat of that regimen that you were on before any environments became a threat. Because that's where the ANS, the comfort zone, comes in. Okay? So when the ANS is in its comfort zone, that's when it can heal. Yes, it's the opposite for the narcissist. They won't step outside of their comfort zone. Because in order for us to heal, mind you now, the ANS is a biological and physical healing style. Okay? And so it's going to want its comfort zone because it knows what to do inside that to heal, because it's already, well, for me, it's already done it a couple times, and it operates based on memory, so it knows what to do by itself. We don't have to force it to do nothing. We can teach it, like I'm teaching it that those things are just animated salt molecules, but it may not understand that until I get back into the present. So it's like I'm introducing that topic and the truth to it. Anyhow, but to get back on the supplements, that all of them, but he told me which one. And then also when I cook my foods, to eat as though I was still in, not living in the past, but as though I was still in those environments before they became a threat with radio frequency. In other words, When I first got on the blood sugar diet, I cut out, I didn't even know about almond wraps. I didn't even know about any of that stuff. He said, get back to basics, right? He said, just get a piece of meat, zucchini, and sweet potato. That's how we were doing it. And so he said, I want you to get back to that. Or rice, broccoli, and something. I want you to get back to that. Use that olive oil. Stay away from the condiments, because he told me that the mustard and mayo, the ANS, right? Because I didn't start going to those until the previous environment became a threat. You see, I didn't know that because I still wasn't yet aware of my ANS and how it was responding. But now we're becoming more aware of it. And so God says, okay, but it has its comfort zone, and that is where it will heal. So I have to do similar thing just for a season. It's not going to be forever, because we'll know when it's back in the present, because it won't be perceiving things as threats that aren't threats anymore. We'll know, because God said, he said, you'll be familiar. He said, yeah. He said, just hang tight. It's like, you'll know, you'll recognize it. I said, okay. And so that's what he has us doing. And so for some of you all, you may be experiencing something similar. So God will take us back to a season and say, okay, this is what was working then. This is what's going to work now to get your ANS back into the present. And then we can do it again. Start weaning ourselves off of some of that stuff. Because remember, the more pills we take, the less food we'll eat. So, and that includes herbal supplements. Remember also, herbal supplements really are not meant to be forever. They really are to be for a season or so. Okay? But he wants me to get the thing that accompanied the ANS's healing journey while in its comfort zone. Because that's how it'll do it. So once I can give because your nerves, the nervous system is going to recognize supplements. It's going to recognize, it's going to recognize the calcium that was in the cranberry supplement. It's going to recognize the vitamin C that was in the cranberry supplement because it's familiar with that. It's going to recognize those nutrients. It recognizes them in the foods and things, yeah. But you talk about in the supplements that we would take along with. And so for the biological healing on the inside. So he wants us to get back on that for a season. And so there might be, it may not be with supplements. It could just be with a simple activity for you all. It could be something that you were doing, let's say, workout-wise, that you had not done. Well, mind you, if you're detoxing, you might want to wait till you're done detoxing for this part. But let's say there was a particular exercise regimen, if you will, or routine, however you want to put it. And it worked, right? And you just haven't been doing any exercising like that lately. But you know that you can probably modify that routine and do some of the similar moves, but low impact, right? Your ANS is going to remember that. Oh, yeah, okay. That's a positive association. It's like, yeah, go girl. All right, your ANS is going to remember that. Just that simple. Remember, the ANS remembers patterns. It remembers movements, right? Exercising, right? It knows that you have, right? Because it knows that you. How do I put this? It was part of who we are, but it just knows like how we would feel because it was feeling better because we were getting good circulation, right? Oh yeah, do some more of that, but you don't have to do it as intense. Like, that's what I used to do, the Insanity Max. But now we could just tone it down a little bit, low impact it. But the ANS will recognize those moves, because those moves is what got the circulation going. And the circulation is what you need for what? Proper nutrient delivery to the places that body needs it the most. So it could be something like that for you all. And, right, because it worked. And your ANS was like, it can make positive association because you're doing something that it remembers from its comfort zone. So it's kind of part of how we got to coddle it a little bit. Yeah. Because it's the inner child. So we kind of have to okay, and then compromise. But we ourselves consciously don't go living in the past. No. It's just that we're kind of revisiting the area to get our ANS out of the past. That's what we're doing. So, okay, Big Chris, you finally got a grip on yours. All right. Okay, good job. Yep. Yeah, it takes the nutrients around the body. Absolutely. Transport. Yeah. So can we think of the ANS like a turning fork, if you will, that has gotten out of tune when traumatized and back in tune when healed? Yeah, that's a good one. Absolutely. That is a good analogy right there. It says that you can, as a tuning, I gotcha. Okay, as a tuning fork, if you will, like a tuner on the radio. Yep. You sure can. So when it's traumatized, it gets out of tune. When it gets healed, it stays in tune, in sync. That's right. Think of someone who has phobias, like, okay, yes, yeah, absolutely. If there's a phobia, then that means the ANS is out of tune. Absolutely. Yes, and yes. If the ANS was healed, there would be no phobias because you would not be living in fear. Remember what I said early on, is that the devil knows, get that ANS traumatized and living in fear, then soon the person will follow. And if they develop a phobia of some kind, that's the result of the ANS being out of tune. Absolutely. And so it keeps them traumatized, which is what the devil wants, because keeping people traumatized keeps them living in fear. And phobia is like an extreme fear of something, right? So yeah, if the autonomic nervous system was healed, there wouldn't be any phobia, and they wouldn't live in fear. And it's easier to walk and live by faith when you're not living in fear, because you can't do both. No. But thank you for sharing that. And yeah. So for whoever might be experiencing any kind of still fear or what have you, and you want that ANS to heal, remember, we've got the inner working of the ANS course right there at CHA Academy, and other things also that will help you. Because as chosen ones, we're not to live in fear. But that's how the devil tricks people into doing so, living in fear. Because, yeah, blooper, whatever. Because that way, well, right, they're easier to abuse, control, and manipulate, deceive. Much easier to deceive. Remember, kids are easy to deceive, right? Yeah, we are when we're little. Okay, so the narcissists are the ones who are deceived, doing the deceiving. And so, chosen one, we We come together and help each other. And that's what we're doing in this growing community of spiritual warriors for Christ, because God wants y'all to heal. He wants your ANS to heal. He needs your ANS to heal. And so he needs to bring that awareness of it so you know when it's responding. And you take it, because you have control over your own ANS. It's your thoughts. Your thoughts control that sucker. I was driving, listen, just to give y'all an illustration of how real that is. I wasn't even thinking of any kind of like animated salt molecule. I wasn't even thinking of a bug. But the moment I did, my ANS responded and interrupted my circulation. I'm driving down the car. It's like, whoa. Okay, not that I needed confirmation, but it was just a fleeting thought. Brief, fleeting thought. Because that's right, I had traps on the lift. So that's why we have to learn to be very, very mindful what we're thinking of, how we're thinking, what we tell ourselves, because our ANS will respond accordingly. Now, once my ANS is fully healed, it will stop responding like that, because it already did stop responding like that twice. And so being aware of our ANS, I'm going to tell y'all, Chosen One, that's another superpower right there. And it's another gift from God to have us be aware of that. And to know that, that's what the enemy is manipulating, is the ANS, to get it traumatized and then get us trauma bonded to the world. See, we got to break all that, right? Exactly. So, yep. You know what? Thank you, Chris. That's right. The word devil sure does have evil in it, doesn't it? Not a coincidence. Yeah, trap something. Yes, on the list. Exactly. So, right. Keeping your place as dust free as possible is really the best pest control there is. I know some people will be like, oh. But whatever gives you peace of mind, okay, you all? I'm not telling nobody what to do. I'm just saying that keeping it as dust free as possible really is the best, depending on your environment, of course. If you have a house and you have a crawl space, it will be a different story for you, probably. But seriously, because everything, dust to dust, you know? I just still find it to be fascinating. When God revealed that to me, I was like, whoa. And then how heat rises, right? Yeah, so it's no wonder that each time we get a surge, right, we start to feel that tingling because the body's trying to get rid of the excess heat. Yeah. And then at the bottoms of the feet. And then, of course, other ways. This is a big reason why it is very important. If you're going through the detox with us, you're going to want to have comfortable, when possible, as much as possible, you're going to want to have comfortable, loose-fitting clothing so that your body can breathe. Okay, there's another tip. Somebody needs that. And it's not because you can't fit into your clothes, it's just because your body's heat. You don't want to wear extremely tight-fitting, okay, because that's going to hold the body heat in. You want the body heat. You want the skin to breathe. Because it's not just oxygen we need to breathe in. It's oxygen that our skin needs, right? That air conditioner needs to be, right. And remember this tip also, that, don't manipulate the AC. Find a temperature that you can, find a temperature for your AC. or heater, wherever you are. Find a temperature that you are comfortable with and leave it there. Even if every once in a while, where I've got it, every once in a while I'll feel the chill, but it's very, very brief. And I can always put on a light jacket if I need to. That's what I'm talking about. A temperature that you can deal with, because as you detox, you're going to fluctuate. Right? Because you're going to take that jacket off at some point, and you're going to be wishing that you feel the cold again. Okay, I kid you not. And then also, remember, even if you are ice packing and doing the coolness on the external, you want to do it on the internal too. Ice water. And so that's how you contribute to it. And then also be mindful of we are so adamant about this for the detox. Be mindful of your portion, because as your body's internal heat fluctuate, things like that, because it was so high, it really was difficult to know when you were full or when you were hungry. Right? It's hard to distinguish between the two when your body internal, right? It's hard to distinguish that. And so you want to be mindful of your portion, and it just has to be intentional. Like, okay, I'm going to, like Chris has shared also, two handful per serving. That's more than enough, because your stomach really is only as big as your fist. Okay? And so you want to be cautious of that as well, because while you're going through the detox, it's right, you're not really going to know or have any feeling of full, because there's going to be a little bit of numbness there. Okay, from the ANS being numbed a little bit. So until more excess toxin get out, right, and it's a process. And this is another reason why Romans 5 verse 3 is very important, because it's through tribulation that worketh patience. I'm going to tell y'all that's so true. That's why I consider this journey, if you will, from that incident, another blessing in disguise, because it actually, another way it backfired on the devil is that I actually am becoming more patient through this tribulation. Truly I am. It's becoming more natural. I'm not asking God when anymore. I'm asking God, what do you need me to do now? I do stay in prayer, of course. And I also know that what God told me too. And so I said, okay, I understand. So for those who truly want to heal and grow, this is the growing community for you. Okay? That's what I'm saying. I know you can have others. I also am part of other fellow warriors communities. Okay? I have a mentoring spirit. We've got other narcissist abuse coaches out here that we follow, and we do. We participate where possible with their content as well. Do. So keep that in mind. We're not the only one, but I can bring you some additional things to help you with trauma healing specifically. That's trauma healing and spiritual growth. Okay, and I have this autonomic nervous system facts for you all, and what God revealed to me to help you going forward, because we got to parent that sucker. Oh yeah. So yep. The creepy crawlies and evil spirits / witchcraft seem to go together. I know it is not a coincidence. Not at all. Right, oxygen can be breathed or absorbed directly through the skin. Thank you. Yes. Right. Absolutely, because it is right now. It is getting into the 80s and 90s out there, and so right, having the temps in the right in the 60s and 70s is definitely going to feel cooler in here from time to time. But while I'm in here doing what we do, multitasking and stuff, it's on auto. So right, it's on auto, and it's just I don't let it roll. And so when it comes on, every once in a while, if I'm just standing at the sink, I might catch, oh, okay, cool. But it's not too awful cold. You see, I found, right, a consistent, because you got to have consistency somewhere in order to be able to pick up on what the ANS is responding to. Not be distracted. So you can stay aware of, okay, it's responding as I move this way. I wonder why. So we do some reflecting so we can break any negative association with that. And then as it gets more into the present and then into the present, it will respond to positive changes a lot better and a lot quicker. Yes. So there you go. All right. And I just want to get on here and bring the message to you all, what God revealed to me, because it's a very important part of healing. And yes, you see my little baby hairs coming back. They wild. They wild. Yeah. Anyhow. Oh yeah, back there too. I'm like, man, they got a mind of their own. What am I gonna do? I mean, I'm having fun with it because I think it's cute. I said, ooh, Gerber baby hairstyle. How about that? Have fun with it. This is what chosen ones do. We don't let those things bring us down anymore when we get into God's reality, because we start to see things for what they are, and we accept things as they are. And so, because we don't have the high pride, chosen ones don't have high pride, we turn negatives into positives. So while that's all wonky as it grows back, the good news is it's growing back, but it's wild. And so I'm like, okay, now let's adopt a new hairstyle for a little while. Why not? And so when I did this the other day, I went, ooh, that reminds me, the picture of the Gerber baby with the I mean, after all, my physical body did go through somewhat of a physical rebirth, so kind of like a babyfication. So I'm like, well, then. See, that's how the enemy views humanity, y'all. Yeah, he cannot. Remember, the narcissist will not see the grown, mature version we're becoming. They won't see it. I mean, they'll notice us changing, but they won't accept it. They will refuse. It's like God just put blinders on, because they are not going to see how we are evolving and growing spiritually and getting closer to God. They're not going to see that. Their demon spirits can, but they also won't accept. This is why the enemy send narcissists across our path to try and see if they can one-up each other with trying to take us out. But see, the more aware we become, the more they're going to fail. And for the most part, they don't get let into our world, because we can spot them. Yep. So, for example, it's like that one dude. I said, ooh, that's a Jezebel. Because when he came circling the second time around, And I went, this is, yeah. And the smile was a Cheshire cat grin. We don't ignore that anymore. Okay? No. Seriously, again, for whoever needs that reminder. If you see someone and you have to ask why their smile looks like a Cheshire cat grin, because it is. So that wraps up today's message, you all, about the ANS and all of that. So I highly encourage you, check out those links below. Yep, check out those links below. If you haven't done so yet, Patreon channel. And then, of course, this is also listed below for those who would like to pledge a service grant. Thank you. All right. And, breaking the trauma bond, right. How the trauma bond is formed at CDHRWDRMD Academy is going to help you with that as well. And then don't forget our social site that we're on as well. Okay, we're going to listen back to basic to get back on track, one day at a time. So we are slowly but surely getting back on track, one day at a time. We can't rush this process. Very important to know that, okay? So there you go. Let God do what God's got to do. Only He knows how to do it. And trust God. That's all we got to do. Okay? And we're going to continue to bring you all these revelations and also reminders, inspiration, motivation, all of that, because we're living testimony that, God is working through His chosen one. So glory be to God. Also, don't forget to check out some of the playlists on this channel. We've got something for everybody, for wherever you are at in the spiritual awakening and God's reality on this journey, for wherever you are, from breaking trauma bond to adapting to the new spiritual norm. Yep. Something for everyone to help you level up that healing that healing and spiritual growth, the trauma healing. But you know what I'm talking about. That includes, remember, trauma healing is spiritual healing. Okay? And so there you go. Don't hesitate to reach out with any questions that you may have in the comments, even on the replay. Okay? In the comments, and I'll get to those as soon as possible. Sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your support. Till next time, let's show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father. And you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.